Hey, Autumn Athletes, Larry Sorensen here. Today, I'm going to connect with Jenniffer McCann, find out what makes her an Autumn Athlete that's not done yet. Before we get started, remember, if you enjoy our content, please like, subscribe, and ding that bell for notifications. All right, let's kick this thing off. Jenniffer, thanks so much for joining us today. Why don't you start us off with a brief introduction of yourself?
Oh, yeah. Jen McCann, or Jenniffer McCann, also known as Jen Patenge, as most Arizona folks know me as, because I've lived and run in the Mesa, Gilbert, Queen Creek area of Arizona my entire life. I was born and raised here, one of the originals, and currently live in Queen Creek, Arizona. I've been married for 5 years to my amazing husband that I found, who's my absolute soulmate and is actually pretty much the glue that keeps all of this together, with being able to run again and have fun. And I'm retired law enforcement, did 21 years as a Phoenix police sergeant, 13 years of that, daughter of a firefighter and school teacher. And now I currently work and mentor youth athletes and run as much as I can, as I keep myself, as I say, I keep myself together with duct tape and spit.
Well, we can't wait to hear how that all works out. But first, let's take a little step back in time and get to know a little bit more about your history. So tell us about your athletic endeavors throughout your lifetime.
It all started off back in the early 70s when I watched Nadia Comaneci do her amazing bar routine at the Olympics, and I wanted to become a gymnastics athlete. That was a little too expensive for a firefighter budget, so my dad got me a pair of shoes and off running we went. So it all started with wanting to become a gymnastics athlete and becoming a runner. But long story short, one day it rained really bad, so we had to go to the local track for a workout, and there was a USA track and field youth team there, and my dad, who talks to everybody, still does, was started talking to the coach, and coach comes over, looks at my arms. Oh yeah, we can do that. And, who knows what he was saying, but next thing you know, I'm running cross country and hill and snow and running track meets. And it kind of like rode itself from there. I mean, back in the 70s and 80s, there really wasn't a lot of 5Ks, at least here in Arizona. So it was always 10Ks. I did the Phoenix 10K like every year. I did the Turkey Trot 10K. And always, ran in the 45s as a 8, 9, 10-year-old athlete. And then obviously just kind of went on to run in junior high, and then in high school, and then at the local colleges here. So I grew up running. It was who I was. And for the most part, it really helped through, probably, I'm sure most athletes have talked about this, how it helped through difficult times in their life, as becoming kind of the glue that kept everything together and kind of kept from getting into trouble and things like that, because you're associated with a little bit healthier habits, folks who are doing healthier things, even as youth athletes. And so that's kind of like where it all started. And there's like a lot of like little things that happened in between, but I've been running since I was 8 years old with USA Track and Field. And honestly, I tell folks, without running, I wouldn't be where I am today, especially with some of the things that kind of happened in life along the way.
Okay, so did you play any other sports or do anything else besides running, or was that just it?
I did, just like rec stuff for church, like softball and volleyball.
Sure.
But honestly, my talent was going in circles as fast as I could. So that's where I just kind of like really focused. I think I tried out for the junior high softball team at one point. I didn't make the team. So, I really, I really wasn't all that great at anything, but I play, some volleyball or, weight lift and all that stuff. But I did do an Iron Kids triathlon when I was 15. And gosh, so that was probably like 1987-ish. So fairly new. And just kind of some interesting circumstances around that. Cause like where I get these ideas, I have no idea, because there was like no internet. I don't even know where I saw an advertisement for it, but I was like, I want to do that. But my dad, God bless his soul, I'm the oldest of 6. Parents were divorced, and he was keeping a roof over our head in a small apartment. But we had to spend half the time with my mom, who had some struggles, had some mental health struggles. So we were basically homeless when we were living with her. So we're living in and out of hotels. And like I said, I have no idea where I got this idea of I'm going to do a triathlon. But I would swim in the hotel pools, swim at the apartment pool, no swimming background, no formal swimming training. Rode my dad's 18-speed bike, and I think I borrowed a helmet from one of the local firemen and jumped into some Iron Kids triathlon. So I've always just kind of been like, I want to try it, kind of a fearless personality to try different things. So, and I've dabbled in sprint tries as an adult as well. So they're great cross training. It's just a lot of time.
Right. Yeah, it's time consuming to do all the disciplines for sure.
It is. Yeah.
Okay, so through that time frame, whether it was when you were younger or even now, did you have any great inspirations along the way?
It's more of an inspiration when you look back to who these people are. But I went to Mesa Community College because I didn't have like the best grades. So I knew I was really grateful to get a scholarship to run at Mesa Community College. And the coach there, Spencer Peterson, who's still there, actually, like 30 some years later, he now assistant coach and things, he's not full-time coaching. But that guy like really saved I would say, yeah, he pretty much saved my life as far as really pushing me through school, really challenging me to keep up habits of staying on top of my classes, because I was kind of behind academically from things that, when things aren't consistent at home through high school, sometimes the academics don't come in so strong, or they just take a little bit more time to develop. So it took me a little bit of time to develop. And he really at one time he lent me his car to use so I could go take winter classes to fulfill having enough credits to be eligible. And he really pushed me as far as continuing to run after community college, helped me get scholarships. Because back then, again, there's no internet. So you're on the phone, you're calling schools. Hey, are you looking for a distance runner? Hey, are you looking for this? So he would help me find lists of coaches that were looking for middle distance runners. And I've never really been the best. I've always been a top scorer. I call myself good, not great, as far as an athlete, better than average, but I wasn't number one. So it's not like my name was at the top of the papers that people were calling. So it's I really had to work and reach out, and he helped me find full ride scholarships to go beyond Mesa Community. And and I actually still have his letter welcoming me to Mesa Community College as being part of the team. I have it in a box. So yeah, that meant a lot to me. And I still our friendship now as adults is a little different, but every time I see you, give each other a hug, and he's like, I can't believe you're still out here running. I'm like, well, man, you started it.
Through the way, and again, this could go back to when you're younger or even in recent times, have you had any major setbacks along the way that you've had to overcome, and how'd you overcome them?
As we get older, we have these, great ideas that we're going to go on to just train full-time post-college, right? We're all going to try to make the Olympic trials. But life sometimes has its own plans. My junior year in college, I got pregnant with my daughter, married her dad. And so that kind of threw things for a loop. So I actually took a year off of college and running. I had my daughter in April of 1995, and I was like, I need to finish school. That was my main, that got drilled in my head. I was finishing school no matter what. And most of the gals that I ran with at Mesa Community were at Grand Canyon University. So I went to the coach there and I said, hey, here I am. Here's what I can do. I just had a baby a few months ago. That I had her in April. This is August. And he goes, well, since you just had a baby, we don't really kind of know how good you're going to be, but I can offer you $3,000, some partial scholarship money. I said, all right, I'll take it. Filled out grants. And then I struggled to get back, because runners didn't have back then what they have now, especially women recovering from, postpartum and all of that stuff. So it took me a year to get back, but that team of women I mean, I sometimes had to bring my daughter to practice, and someone would watch her in between intervals. So that was a struggle that really kind of helped identify having some grit and resilience, and getting up at 4 a.m. to make it to practice by 5:30 with a newborn, things like that. And then, I competed, and then I took a break again as life took its turn, and found myself needing to be a sole income earner for the house. And I needed a job that paid well, had benefits to keep a roof over my head. And coming from a firefighter family, I knew I was a little too short and tiny to become a firefighter. Although I think I would have enjoyed that a little bit more. I joined the police department, and then that took me away from running, just the schedules of law enforcement, working shift schedule, having a child at home. So I took about 10 years away from competitive, where I just worked out to stay in shape and for mental health. And then about 38, 39 years old, started coming back to running as my daughter got older and more independent. And I'm sure this is a very similar story to many older athletes, is like, as our children became more independent, we're like, I can actually go start running again and start enjoying life. So, and then it takes time to get back in shape after that long of a time off. So, so that's when I got into some of the sprint triathlons as cross training to get some of my strength back, and then just basically have met right back up with all the women I've been running with since college. And it's like time has never passed, as it often is, especially in our little community. And we all run, and we get together when we can, and when we can't, we just get done what we can get done. So it's been amazing, kind of like that ebb and flow of life happening, and then just kind of circling all back to the same people, like my same coach, working at the same track meets, and showing up. It's like it's like you're a kid again. So I think that's part of what keeps us young as well.
Why don't you fill us in a little bit on some of your personal best achievements?
I don't post a whole lot of my workouts or what I'm training for, or even race results, because for me, it's about, like, the outcome is great. Like, I have my own personal goals of what I want to try and achieve. But it's not the purpose of the training. It really is about, like, how much can I push myself? What's my limits as I get older? And it's really great that, supplements and vitamins and labs, absolutely key to being able to stay healthy and whatnot, and being able to continue to train. But I guess so. Like I said, I'm good, not great. Even in the masters community, there's these handful of women who are just absolutely amazing. The Sonias and the Perry Shoemakers and the Sues, and and a handful of others that are just the really top level, post trials runners, things like that are just so great. And then there's like a gap, and then there's like the next group, and I'm in that next group. I do like to say, like, I'm kind of like, I'm always kind of chasing their skirt tails a little bit, of like, I know I can be, if they can do it, I can do it, and just kind of trying to keep pushing myself. But I think recently is some of my best years so far, as after turning 50, even turning 50, 51, I'm still running, 40-minute 10Ks. I did the Cherry Blossom 10 mile. I wasn't feeling very well. I don't like to use excuses, but I really truly wasn't feeling that well for the race, and traveling seems to take a lot more toll on me than it used to. But I mean, I still ran a 69-minute 10 miler and got third for my age group. And Perry was like an hour. So it was like, dang, it's like, I know I could have just been a little bit closer if things would have rounded out better. But let's see, I have, as a youth athlete, I was 5th in state for the women's 1600 or the girls 1600 in high school, at Mesa Community, All American in the 4x800. And that was before it was divisions. So you ran against schools that recruited out of county, out of the US. The top 3 schools that beat us in the 4x8 were made up of non-Americans. So they were from all different parts of the of the world because those colleges were able to recruit. So we were pretty proud of that, of being able to like kind of hang with the foreign athletes that were competing on even more national levels. Northwest Missouri State, I spent a short stint there, and I got a couple of meet records. I have a 10K that's still like in the top 15 performances of a 38:54. Which isn't that fast nowadays, but back in the 90s, that was pretty decent. Grand Canyon, we always did well as a team. Yeah, it's funny. I've always coined myself as like an 800, 1500 meter runner, but like my biggest accomplishments, like for Northwest Missouri, I placed 4th in the 10,000 or a 3rd in the 10,000. I'm sorry. But then as a master's, I do a lot of local stuff. Like I said, I think I'm chasing the skirt tails of some of those faster women, and I'm really trying to push to see how close I can get. But here in Arizona, I have like the 10K road championships. I've had a few have been broken now, but age group records from the 400 meters to the 3,000 meters. So they don't always keep it up to date. But Flash Centuro, Clint Flash Centuro, most people know him in the especially in the Arizona world. He keeps a Google spreadsheet of all the masters to keep things going. But that's kind of it. Like I said, I feel like I'm just kind of chasing skirt tails, and I'm up there, but still trying to push to see how far I can go.
2-part question. 1, do you have any up and coming events and or times that you're shooting for? And then secondly, tell us a little bit about your training as to how you are trying to accomplish that.
I coach folks. I've coached myself for years, but a year ago, I decided I was really bumping up against the same issues. Like, you kind of recognize a pattern of weaknesses in your racing. And I'm like, I need a coach who can like look at my training, look at me as a runner a little bit more objectively than I can look at myself. So I hired Dan Pescador. He's actually the head coach at Mesa Community College. He ran at one of the top high schools here with Highland High School, who's won several cross country championships. And so he comes from a quality program. He's really built up MCC, and I liked his style of looking at things. So we have been collaborating for the last year on my training programs. He writes it up, and I'll give some feedback and whatnot. So I've really been focusing a lot more on the road, just kind of like leaving the track a little bit and exploring where I can push myself on the road. I ran the Indianapolis Monumental Half Marathon last year, ran a PR of 1:27:58, I think, and I missed the course record by 15 seconds for my age group. So like, I'll look for courses like, what's my age group record, so that's kind of where I'm gearing right now, is like, what's the course record for my age group? And like, where's like some fast courses? Like, I want to run like a really fast classic course. Unfortunately, due to my foot injury over the summer, I was supposed to run Grandma's Half in Duluth, but I had to cancel out of that. So right now, as long as everything's going the way it's going, it's still to be determined, but it's looking really good. There's the Masters Half Marathon Championships in October back in Indiana, which on a different course. So I'm like contemplating doing that. And then right now it's like, this is going to be kind of like the first, like really telling anybody other than my close friends, is that the California International Marathon, I've decided, as long as my foot can sustain the training, that's going to be my debut marathon. And I'm shooting. I'll put it out there. I hate once you put it out in the universe, now you really got to go for it. But I'm shooting to break 3. So we'll see what happens with that.
Fantastic. Okay. So you talked a little bit about your training moving to the road. Give us just, maybe 2 things. 1, give us your favorite go-to workout, regardless, road, track. And then right now, with pushing more towards the road, give us sort of a week of training. Not only what you're doing running, but do you do any cross training, weightlifting, yoga, whatever it is? Kind of fill us in on a typical week right now of your training.
Yeah. So like a typical week, in the early phases definitely includes some strength training, even if just stuff I do at home, medicine balls, kettlebells, working on that, deadlifts, lunges, just some of the core stuff. And then the little things like just doing holds. Like I'm really big on like the psoas hold, like holding your knee up really high with your foot in dorsiflex. And because this is what I do with the kids too, planks, all of that kind of stuff to just kind of work on that, just really strength and being able to hold yourself up straight. As it gets more deeper into the training, I'll move to like resistance bands and body weight. I'm big on recovery. I have a infrared sauna from Relax Saunas that I invested in and love it. I use it like 4 times a week. I use it for recovery. I have some, the boots, and then, I'll stand in the ice bath and things like that. But I think the sauna right now is probably like number 1 on my list, with not only with the research, but just my own application of it as far as being top in recovery. And then just the custom supplements, everything's done to my labs. My best friend is this wicked smart clinician that customizes all of my supplements and vitamins based off of my labs. So that's another thing that I work with youth athletes for, is I liaison with athletes for doing that stuff. But in the deeper weeks, my workouts will consist of up to about 60 miles a week, 8-mile days. On recovery days, sometimes I'll split that up between 4 miles and 4 miles. But an interval day will be, 1Ks, 12Ks, mile repeats out on roads, usually like a loop or something where I can get my water, and something that's got some hill to it. That 9-10 miles. And then what we did is we actually experimented for a 3-week block back in February, March time, where we did 1 day a week of basically a double threshold day. So playing to my strengths. So Tuesdays would be kind of like just a regular interval day, mile repeats, something like that, progressive run. Wednesday recovery. Then Thursday I would come back in the morning, do longer repeats, 1Ks, 12Ks, and then with warm up and cool down it'd be about 9-10 miles. Come home, recover, eat, refuel, go out to the track and do shorter, still like 3 to 4 miles worth of work, but shorter distances, 400s, 800s, maybe a 1K in there. But that would end up being like 10 or 11 miles of work. So some of those double threshold days would be anywhere from 15 to 17 miles in the day. So recovery was really, really important to stay on top of. Sleeping, like making sure I got my sleep. But that was kind of like a typical, and then always long run on either Saturday or Sunday, depending on if I needed an extra day of rest. And those, were anywhere from 14 to 16 miles of, upbeat, not quite conversational, but not, stressing it out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like a typical, like in the heat of it, workout week.
We know you work out hard. You talked a lot about your rest and recovery. You touched a little bit about your supplements, but I want to know more about your approach to diet and nutrition. How do you fuel yourself so you can do all these things?
So I have some nutrition certifications, and I did behavioral nutrition coaching virtually for a company. And that, so not just having the academic background on that, but just having some practical application on coaching folks to lose weight. I do more of kind of a macro-based approach to my meal planning, making sure I'm getting certain amounts of protein. I kind of look at like, what's my energy expenditure? So what proteins, carbs, fats do I need? And then it's obviously being an endurance runner where you're running like 60 miles a week, you do have the opportunity to be a little bit more liberal on if you wanted a piece of cake or pizza or, something like that. It's not gonna, our systems are working so well at insulin sensitivity that it really takes a lot to, you'd have to be eating way too much. So a lot of my refueling comes to just evaluating my macros. What's my fats, carbs, and proteins look like? And it's whole foods, protein yogurts and chicken and steak and, tortilla wraps. There's really nothing sexy about it. I think it's a pretty practical application. It's what I do for my youth athletes as well, as I just will make them like grocery, like grapes and pretzels and protein yogurts, and the less ingredient, the better.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of practical stuff. I want to talk philosophy just for a minute and ask you, at 51 years old, what is your motivator? What keeps you going to do this?
I'm just a high drive person that likes to test my limits. Like, how fast can I go at any age? Like, how fast can I go? How hard can I go? How long can I go? What's something new? Where's a record that I can try and break? Whether it's a silly record that really means nothing to no one, but it means it to me. It's like whether I get it or not. I do truly believe, and I'm sure there's other athletes that have said this too. Like, and I tell this to the college kids when I'm out there training, or I jump in a race with them. I'm like, every time I stand on the line, I feel 19 again. Like, I don't feel like time has passed. I feel just as young as they do. And maybe it's because like I can still kind of run in the mix of it, so that helps. I mean, I'm not winning anymore, but at least I'm running in the group. But I mean, I don't think I run just as many repeats as they do. It's like I feel like time kind of stands still, and that's really attractive to those of us who are kind of that whole anti-aging or just wanting to feel youthful again. So I think it's kind of a mix between the two of like, I love the feeling that I can go to the track and I see my old coach and I see people that I've known for 30 years, and we're all still out there doing it. We're all still having fun. And then at the same time, how fast can I run today? Can I get this record today? Can I even run a marathon? I have no idea. I guess we'll find out. How fast can I run the half marathon? How fast can I run a 10 miler? I've always been an 8 and a miler. So it's moving to the roads is just something, it's a new exploration for me because I've been doing track for so long.
All right. So you mentioned something about your social media presence. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that and where we can find you?
Yeah, you guys, you can find me on Instagram at Jenniffer, and it's JENNIFFER _McCann, MCCANN, and then another underscore. So that's how you can find me. So it's Jenniffer _McCann_, or you can follow me on Strava and catch all the local routes here around Gilbert and Queen Creek.
If you could bottle it, what would be your secret sauce, and what would the ingredients be that you would have in that secret sauce?
So yeah, my secret sauce is absolutely my environment, the people who I surround myself with. If I could put, I've got my husband, I've got my great training partners. I mean, you truly are a reflection of the environment that you're in, and I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Jenniffer, thanks so much for joining us today and letting us know what makes you an Autumn athlete that's not done yet. I'd like to wrap up today by giving you the floor to give us some final thoughts.
It really doesn't matter what I love, especially about running, because I'm a little biased, is it doesn't matter what economic background you come from. It doesn't matter what cultural background you come from. It's a sport that gives what you put into it. And it's the most unbiased place you could ever be. There's no favoritism. There's no specialty given to anybody. Everything out there is earned. And whether you're running a 10-minute mile or a 5-minute mile, you've earned it. You're out there and you're working for it.
There you go, folks. Jenniffer McCann. She is definitely an Autumn athlete that's not done yet. Remember, keep moving, set your own goals, and train hard to achieve them. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.